I'm Ray Van Cott, your treasurer here at West Colony Homeowners Association, and welcome to the 2020 Budget Review. As with the case of most of our normal lives, COVID-19 has impacted and forced us to change the ways we do in business. Normally I'd be standing in front of you in the town hall meeting and watching you as you're looking at my presentation. Here we're going to do it differently because of distancing and social distancing. In any case, the budget presentation is going to be in two parts. I will take you through the normal stock presentation. For questions and answers, we're going to ask you to email those to us, and I'll go over the address at the end of my session. We will take those questions. I'll do email answers, and we will meet you on November 10th at 7 p.m. in a virtual town hall. Hopefully you'll be able to attend. I'll spend the time going through the questions that I received and yet entertain any new ones that I get from residents during the presentation. So without any further ado, let's get started. This presentation is going to start off in 2020. We're going to look at how we've actually done so far in 2020 and how the impact of 2020 has gone into the building of our 2021 budget. We're going to look at the 2020 budget, what the board of directors had sent out to the committees and to the finance group in preparation. We're going to look and see where we are in balancing that budget, and then a proposal for what our 2021 dues and assessments are going to be. Upon conclusion of all that, I'll take you through pipes. You will remember that last year we had a full presentation on pipes based upon 41% of the pipes being inspected. Inspections are done. I'm going to take you through the results of all those inspections. Before I get started, I want to thank the various people who had a hand in the preparation of the budget. Daphne Kinkle and our finance team, a simply outstanding job adjusting a process that Forest Colony has been used for years and adjusting it to fit in the COVID-19 world of no meetings. They did an outstanding job taking many additional personal hours to get the budget done. Committee chairmen, who also had to adjust to getting their budget submitted and done. They spent a lot of time learning all the new ways. Management agent Sally Walls, who's actually had a hand in preparation of this presentation, and is actually monitoring the camera that you see me on right now. And I want to thank my fellow board members for all their help and guidance. Let's look at 2020. 2020 is not done. I mean, even though I'm talking to you at the beginning of November, our finance statements are only good until as of September 30th. That's essentially 3 quarters. And we're really talking about now, we're going to talk about the results of how we look at the end of 3 quarters, knowing full well that we have another quarter to go through. Looking at the first 3 quarters, some revenues are up. Most notably our miscellaneous revenue, which is strongly influenced by some collection activity that's really one time. And that $33,000 of activity put miscellaneous revenue higher by $45,000. Also, a particular note here is sales disclosure packages. These are packages that are obtained when residents go to sell their home, to take them through the process and inspection and how to do their homeowner inspections. Those are up. Revenues that are down, home construction is clearly down. Not only new home construction, remodeling construction, home projects, revenues are just generally down with construction and our fees. This swim and tennis building has been closed. It's beautifully done and remodeled, but we haven't been able to show it off, nor have we been able to collect any rent, and so it's currently closed. With all said and done, revenues at the end of September were positive by $34,726. Expenses, all of our departments and committees have been particularly cognizant in this time of COVID-19 to manage their expenses. And we can say now, all our expenses generally across all departments are down. At the end of September, we were $139,500 down in expenses. So when you couple down with expenses and being over in revenue, at the end of the 3rd quarter, we were positive $174,276. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means for 3 quarters we did a fine job. We're in the 4th quarter. The fourth quarter typically has more expense than revenue. It's just the way the budgets normally flow. When I pressed the Finance Committee and Sally hard, we basically, in looking at 174, we can feel relatively certain that we'll probably end the year roughly $75,000 positive to what we actually had budgeted. Taking all that and looking at, trying to do our crystal ball, what does 2021 look like? What were the assumptions that we had to make? Obviously, COVID-19 is not going away. We spent more this year on cleaning supplies and various mitigation expenses. That's going to continue. Swim tennis will be closed probably for a half year, so there's no rental of the swim tennis. Home construction we anticipate will stay down. However, we think resales are going to go up. The remaining revenues are going to remain flat. Interest revenue will continue to be minimal. This is important to us. We carry money in reserve, and this money we invest. By our own investment policy, we do not invest in anything that has the potential risk of us losing our principal. So that's like if you go out and you buy CDs or you have interest on your checking. What are you getting for that? Well, we're getting less than 1%, and I'm sure you are too. So we don't anticipate much revenue there. Health insurance premiums, though, are going to continue to go up. Pipe repairs and replacements, they're going up, and we'll talk about them later. Expected revenues. So what are we looking at as far as income going into 2021? Well, our dues that are currently in place for 2020 generate $5,772,816. And then we had about $500,000 of special miscellaneous revenues, which we think we're probably going to have again in 2021. So looking at our current dues and that, our expected revenue for 2021, $6,271,116. Expenses, that's the board issued guidance to the Finance Committee and all the standing committees that the overall increase would have to be 3.5% or less, a little better than inflation. Allow salary increases of 2.8%. Plan your group insurance for a 10% increase. Maintain fuel and minimum contributions at the same 2020 rate. We asked the Finance Committee to come up with multiple scenarios for funding the continuation of our pipes project. We also charged the committees to only propose those things in the budget for 2021 that were deemed critical. Critical really means for the health, safety, and welfare of the colony. This is an expense that we have to consider being made. The Finance Committee, over the time of October into early November, prepared maybe 5 versions of the budget. In the final version, following these instructions, their bottom line was a deficit of $142,551. Why? Well, when you have a 2.8 salary increase and 10% increase in benefits, you're going to have a large increase in salary and benefits. Landscaping maintenance to keep everything, it's also one of high expenses. When we looked at new items, keeping to critical, our technology committee completed an audit of our own internal network security and our servers, and came back and made recommendations for numerous security upgrades. This is important stuff. You don't want to put yourself in any type of danger of being hacked or the like, and we will undertake those in 2021. We have security cameras in all our buildings that need to be replaced. Our pool system is a salt water system. Our vendor who maintains that system for us has made recommendations to replace and upgrade portions of that system. We have to do that to keep the pool healthy for all our residents. Looking at 2021 expense budget, breaking it down by committee and department and comparing it to 2020, you can see, and I won't have to go over these numbers for you, exactly where we have our increases. I wouldn't get too wrapped up over the large 7.75% increase in admin and ARC and the like. Most of our salary and benefits tend to form in those committees, so that's why you see that they have the bulk of the increase. But overall, we're looking at about a 2.25% increase in expenditures. We've been talking about the operating fund. The operating fund is what we use to operate day to day to day. The other fund that we have is the capital reserve model. The capital reserve model is simply the fund for which we maintain our assets for either replenishment or for repairs. So take the CSB. If the CSB needs a new roof, we pay it out of the capital reserve. When security needs a new vehicle, we pay it out of the capital reserve. We've been saving for these events over time. So the capital reserve model is where all this is done. Projects in the capital reserve that we're looking at include, in the first part, the first several are in the what I call the maintenance of our assets. We're maintaining our drainage. We're continuing our road renovation project. We're continuing our road stabilization, the road edge river rock we put at the sides of the road. The bottom items, though, are replenishment items. These are items that we've been saving for years. Over its lifespan, if the vehicle has a useful life of 5 years, we have been saving for that vehicle for every 5 years, waiting for the day that we've had to replace it. Now, it may not, after 5 years, need to be replaced, and we may push it out a year. But we have the money when it's ready to be replaced. And these are the replacement vehicles and items and equipment that we're going to have to handle in 2021. So just like I do with operating expenses, this is the capital reserve expense by major department. You can see this year, we're actually going to spend less than we spent last year. We're going to spend $1,071,207. That's less. That's because the capital reserve expenditures tend to be an ebb and flow. If you look, a good example of that, just look right at security. Last year, security was $17,000. They didn't need a new vehicle. This year, we have a new vehicle that needs to be replaced, and therefore you see they're up to 30. And all our departments flow like that. Since it is a savings account, though, we tend to fund capital reserve with more money than we spend because we're saving out for future years. So we have to put aside $1,240,094 while we only spend $1,071,207 of that. Capital reserve funding is about 21% of our total budget, or $415 annually. So now we have to balance the budget. I told you using the 2020 assessments, our revenue was about $6,271,116. Looking at all the expenses that I've just taken you through, that number is $6,413,667, a shortfall of $142,551. Why? Salaries are up 2.8%, benefits are up 10%, and our revenue, our non-dues revenue, is flat. To manage that shortfall, we're going to need to increase your annual assessment 2.48%, or $12 a quarter to $495 a quarter, or $19.80 a year. That translates to $1 a week. So we have to raise our dues from $43 to $495. So what about the pipes? What do we do about the pipes? Where are we on the pipes? Last year at this time, in the presentation that I gave, we were looking at the single wall plastic pipes that were failing throughout Ford's colony. In 2019, 41% of those pipes were inspected. That revealed that we had a need to reline and replace pipes that would cost us over 10 years $3.15 million. To handle that, we did two things. We increased our reserve spending or savings account by $190,000 over those 10 years. And we asked you for a special assessment of $100 per quarter, $400 per year. So what did we do in 2019? Inspections took us a little longer than we had hoped. We had hoped to be done by early summer, but COVID-19 issues with our vendor dragged that out into late August, early September. And frankly, we didn't get to see a presentation of where we're actually the status of our pipes until we got into late October. We have inspected 99.8% of the pipes, and we'll talk about what the exact results are in the following slide. In 2020, we replaced 583 linear feet of pipes. We also received and spent $133,490 in grants from James City County. That's slightly higher. We had anticipated $130,000. We got $133,490. So what it turns out to be for us is net of grants, we spent $197,595 we spent out of the special assessment that we asked you throughout the year 2020. The total spend is $331,085, but the amount that we took out of special assessment is $197,595. So this is a rather busy slide, but it tells you all about the pipes that we know after 99.8% visual inspections. There's over 102,000 linear feet of drainage pipe in Ford's Colony. That's not only single wall HDPE, it's double wall HDPE, and it's also metal. 87,274 feet have been video reviewed to determine integrity. There's currently 462 feet that exist below ground and below water. To inspect those, we will need divers, and we've actually applied for grants from James City County for next year to be able to inspect those. 14,167 feet are either double walled or not on HOA property, so we don't need to have them inspect or repair at this time. So we're really looking at 87,274 feet of pipe that we have to be concerned with. 18,980 feet of the pipe need to be relined. 12,000 of that is critical. 43,080 feet need to be replaced. And you can see how much of that is under roads, curbs, and gutters. Roads, curbs, and gutters translates into more money because we have to dig down to get at the pipe. Once we find the pipe, we have to redo our beds, replace the pipe, put the bedding back down, put the asphalt back down, repair the cement. So what's changed? Well, we've inspected all of our pipes. We've inspected, almost 100% of our pipe versus 41% in 2019. The number of feet to be relined has increased by 65%. Number of feet to replace has decreased by 20. Unfortunately, most of that pipe is underground, under streets, curbs, and gutters, which makes them more expensive. We've also been informed by our vendor there's potentially more discounts to be earned for larger, if we consider larger contracts. This current plan has a cost of $3,341,669. That's about $200,000 more than we estimated in 2019 for all the reasons that I've taken you through on the previous slides. Mostly we have also critical repairs. Here's a breakout. You can see that we have 5% of the total devoted to contingency in case something doesn't work out the way we expect it to work out. How do we look to fund this? We can save an additional $98,766 if all the work is contracted at one time. To take advantage of that discount, we would have to spend $2.1 million in 2021. The total project then is $1,990,341, which is the $2.1 million minus the $98,000 discount. Where's the money going to come from? We're carrying over $809,541 from the 2020 special assessment. We have in our capital reserve devoted to 2021 $134,129. That leaves us a little more than $1 million to address. We looked at two things here. The first we looked at was borrowing the entire amount of money from our own capital reserve. We have significant reserves and we can certainly borrow that much. When we looked at the borrowing though, those significant reserves would be reduced to a point of we would be uncomfortable with that amount of money in reserve in case we had an emergency. It just took our reserves too low. So what we decided to do is to take the amount of money, the 1.1 million, and split it. We're going to borrow $449,000 from ourselves, and we're going to ask for a second special assessment in 2021 of $50 per quarter or $200 per year, which will give us $597,600 and make up the total project price of $1,990,560. So to recap, We've looked at all the pipes. Good news, more can be relined. Bad news is the ones on the street are gonna cost us more money. The current project is $200,000 more than we anticipated last year. But last year, we only looked at 41% of the pipes. We can get additional savings of just under $100,000 if we contract the work at one time. And we need $50 per quarter or $200 per year as a second special assessment. I have to give you a caveat here. Nothing can be guaranteed that this is it. While we've now looked at almost all of our pipe and we understand what we need to do that pipe, we haven't broken ground yet. And when you break ground, you don't necessarily know what you find. We have money in a contingency and we hope it's going to be enough, but conceivably it could cost us more, it could cost us less. So right now, these are our best estimates, but again, there are no guarantees. So my presentation has covered two things. The annual dues after the budget, 2.4% increase or $12 per quarter for a new assessment of $495. We're asking for a 2021 another special assessment, this time for $50 per quarter or $200 per year. So your 2021 total quarterly assessment invoice is $545. This is slightly less than the $583 that you currently have, but it's still not where we'd like to be. I want to thank you for your time. Hopefully this was clear enough that I answered your questions in my presentation, but if not, please feel free to send an email to budgetquestions@fchoa.net. I'll answer your questions by email and save them for our webinar on November 10th at 7 p.m. where we'll go through all the questions and answers that we received to date and also take the time to entertain any new questions that may come in. I want to thank you for your time. Good night.